All right, a lot to talk about regarding the 49ers today. Their first open 2025 11 on 11 practice is in the books. A lot of you watching the instant reaction from the good old helmet. That's awesome. Go watch that if you haven't. But this is the 49ers Extra, the live, where we're going to go through Trent Williams. We're going to be talking about Ricky Pearsall's injury, and we're going to set a lot of the record straight because I already see overreactions in every which direction. And I think it's important to listen to exactly what Kyle Shanahan had to say. You could listen to me, and I'll tell you exactly what Ricky Pearsall did on the field. And in the case of Trent Williams, I think there's some nuance to this situation to appreciate as well. First of all, yes, Christian McCaffrey did look really, really good out in practice today. Everybody reputable is saying that. We'll get to that at a later point. But I want to talk about Ricky Pearsall. He has a tweaked hamstring, so he wasn't practicing today, but he was on the practice field. So as you can see, there's a delineation between those two things. He was actually working out in the middle of the field. There's two practice fields side by side. He was working out in the middle, and he seemed to be moving decently well. Now, all the aggregators ran with Ricky Pearsall as a tweaked hamstring, and he's not going to be back until training camp. But they didn't add context to what Kyle Shanahan actually said. Kyle Shanahan said that Ricky Pearsall will likely be fully healthy by the veteran minicamp, which is less than 2 weeks from now. But because that's the last thing of the spring program, the 49ers aren't going to risk putting him through it. There's only 2 days left of school. That's the way that Kyle Shanahan termed it today. So I think there's a really big difference in the way that something comes across if you present it as, oh, he's going to be out until training camp, or, oh, he could be back in about a week. But the 49ers, just like any team in this situation, they're going to take a precaution and they're not going to play him during a mini camp where it's a light practice anyway. They don't want guys hurt heading into the work part of the off season. So I think you guys can see where I'm going with this. People haven't exactly been thorough or honest in the way that they've reported the Ricky Pearsall injury situation, and it's blown things out of proportion. So tweaked hamstring, probably is going to be healthy sometime around next week. It sounds like for sure he's going to be healthy within 2 weeks, but the 49ers, they're considering putting him out there at the veteran minicamp, but they're probably just going to play it safe and let Ricky take this time to do his work on the side like he did today at practice. By the way, the fact that Ricky wasn't in there, I talk about it in my piece up on the San Francisco Standard. This is the big in-depth look at all of practice today. We'll go through more of what I wrote, but the fact that Ricky wasn't out there, no Brandon Ayuk either, obviously, dealing with the ACL tear. He might start the season on PUP. It gave Jordan Watkins, the rookie out of Ole Miss, a little bit bigger chance to shine. And I talked about this in instant reaction. I could talk about it a little bit more. Jordan Watkins, 49ers loved how he ran the gauntlet at the combine. That's one of the newer combine drills. They loved the way that he caught the football. They loved the way that he moved through that gauntlet drill. In fact, they said that Jordan Watkins, Kyle Shanahan said this is coming straight from the horse's mouth. He'd said that Jordan Watkins looked better at the gauntlet than essentially any other receiver at the NFL Combine. That's how much they liked him in that regard. You go back and you watch some of his big games at Ole Miss, the guy looks like a natural receiver. He's listed at 5'11", 203, which is not all too big. I'll say this, he looks bigger in person. He looks ready-made in person. He had a bit more of an opportunity today. He's going to have a bit more of an opportunity through these next few practices. 3 more open practices, 1 OTA next week, and then the mini camp after that. So he's going to get a chance to continue to work on his rapport with Brock Purdy. I just say look out for this guy because although part of his opportunity has come because of these injuries in the receiver room, it's not typical that you see a rookie as comfortable as Jordan Watkins looked out there during his first OTA session. Now, Demarcus Robinson was also out there. He's wearing the number 5. Robinson is beefier than I remember him. I've been watching a lot of Rams tape to see Demarcus Robinson. It looks like he's got some muscle on him, and you're going to need that in this offense. So maybe he's strengthened a little bit knowing that some run blocking is coming for the 49ers, but it was Jennings, awesome today. Demarcus Robinson and Jordan Watkins, who looked really good. Now, speaking of Jennings, he caught a lot of passes today. We can go to George Kittle talking about the Brock Purdy, Juwan Jennings dynamic. This video comes from the 49ers, their social media team does a great job. So make sure to check that out. But listen to George Kittle talking about what he saw on the field today between Brock Purdy and Juwan Jennings.
Well, today he threw a route over the middle and JJ stopped running and he yelled at him for not running anymore. And so, hey, JJ, keep running. And so, like, just hearing that from him, like, he has an expectation and a standard for us, how we run routes, and his expectations of in his drop, like where we're going to be in the timing of everything. And so just him expressing his frustrations and not just like, we'll get it next time. Like him saying that and then talking to Juwan about it for the next time. So the next time we go through that rep, hey, now we're all on the same page. And so like that type of vocal is awesome. We're in the team setting, like I was talking about, like when Christian talks, like when Brock talks, it's awesome. Like just being more vocal, and like it's very easy to kind of establish that during OTAs just because the whole team's here together without, that pressure of the season. So just getting that from him has been really good.
So that was George Kittle on Juwan Jennings and Brock Purdy today. And that was all part of Brock Purdy is starting to become a more vocal leader. And I really think this goes back to 2024. The 49ers were really impressed with the leadership that Purdy was able to bring a team that had everything around him deteriorating last year. The last thing that Kyle Shanahan wants to see is someone get paid and change because he got paid. So somebody asked the question today in Kyle Shanahan's press conference, has Brock Purdy felt the need to become more of a vocal leader ever since he signed the contract? And Kyle Shanahan smirked it off and said, no, that's the last thing I want to see. You can't just change because of your contract, because that would be fake. So I think it's important to underline the fact that the 49ers were talking about Brock Purdy and his more vocal leadership already last season. He was maturing into that during his third season in the NFL, coming off the MVP finalist season in 2023. But George Kittle has talked more about it this offseason, and you heard an example there. Now, obviously, Jennings didn't run the route correctly on that one play, but Juwan Jennings is running a lot of routes correctly. I mean, this guy is a monster. And there was a play today where Mac Jones found Juwan Jennings downfield. This was the two offense, but the receivers and the skill position players rotate through with every single unit. So Mac Jones found Juwan Jennings. It seemed to be a little bit later in the progression, but it was a really good read from Mac Jones. And then Mac kind of pumped his fist and had a little swag out there. I mean, I wrote about it. There was a lot of energy out on that field. So, I mean, we headlined with Christian McCaffrey, but it was an energetic first practice. Mac Jones excited, and Kyle Shanahan referred to that. There's a good quote that we got from Kyle Shanahan on Mac Jones. I could go through and read here. This was actually in the article itself, because Mac, they've been working behind the scenes now for a few weeks, and this is the first time we've gotten to see the 49ers and all the veterans in 11-on-11 session. And Shanahan said that we've spent 3 weeks on technique with Mac Jones, and to watch him go through those 3 weeks working on some technique things and just how we see football, I'm hoping it helps him and he enjoys it. He's had 2 days to practice it versus the defense, and I think he's had 2 real good days, and we'll see how the rest goes. The line that stood out to me there, Shanahan said, I'm hoping it helps him and he enjoys it. Sounds like it's really important, for whatever reason, that Mac Jones is having fun, that Mac Jones is enjoying, embracing the 49ers scheme and finding a way to, he's trying to resuscitate his career, right? This is a similar situation to Sam Darnold, in that the first stop after being a highly touted draft pick, or the first 2 stops in both cases of Darnold and Mac Jones, didn't go all too well. And I think that enjoyment of the game is important to develop and maybe even rediscover a passion for the game. And I think when I saw Mac Jones with that fist bump after he hit Juwan Jennings downfield, that's a sign that he's enjoying what he's doing. And funny enough, right after practice, Kyle Shanahan used that exact word. All right, I promised we'd start with Trent Williams as well. I got off on a Mac Jones tangent, but Trent Williams has been around the facility this offseason. He's just not there right now as we speak. So I know that this could be a little confusing as well, but I mean, we do need to emphasize that there's workout video of Trent Williams. We can even reshare that. Why not? Because we've been playing this over the past couple videos. Why not play it again? This is not, mind you, this is not at the 49ers facility. This is somewhere else. I don't know exactly where else. Is that Trent's gym or is it something else in Houston? But he is looking like he's in really, really good shape. I mean, he's cut some weight, which I think is necessary. Consider he's had ankle injuries almost chronically now over the past few seasons. And it was a bruised ankle joint last year. Sounded really painful. And, you know, anybody who knows anything about ankle injuries will tell you that they're harder if you weigh 320, 330 pounds. And the league is getting smaller. It's getting more athletic. And Trent, we know that he's one of the great athletes of all time, maybe the best athlete ever to play along the offensive line. But I think to maintain his effectiveness to age 37, 38, and to maintain ankle health, he's going to have to make sure that he's decently light on his feet. I would never question Trent Williams' anchor strength and upper body strength. I think he'll have that, especially against smaller edge rushers that we see, smaller defensive linemen, smaller rushing linebackers. I think he'll be fine there. But if he can't move, and if the ankle leads to some movement struggles, that's a back-breaking issue for Trent Williams and for the 49ers. So first takeaway is we've seen Trent Williams working out this offseason. It looks like the ankle is much healthier, and it looks like he's got his body at a position where he can make this sustainable. But second takeaway here is he obviously wasn't at the building today. And Kyle Shanahan, this is to clarify a lot of the reporting, a lot of the chatter on social media. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have both said, and Lynch said this a few weeks ago, that Williams was on hand for the start of the 49ers offseason program. Now, Shanahan made it very clear to the 49ers team in January when they were adjourning after the 2024 season, he wanted to see everyone at the start of the offseason program. Shanahan broadcast that message loud and clear. April 22nd was the beginning of phase one of the offseason program. So that was 5 weeks ago at this point. Trent Williams was there for the start of phase one. Everyone was there. The 49ers keep on talking about it. It was 100% attendance for this team. Remember, even Brock Purdy was there, and that was before the contract was signed. George Kittle came a couple days later. There was some brouhaha about that. I remember in the media was trying to say that he was unhappy about his contract. It ended up not being true. He might have just been at WrestleMania or something. But George Kittle showed up a couple days later. 49ers had 100% attendance during phase one. That included Trent Williams. Kyle Shanahan said that he hadn't been around now in a couple weeks. He doesn't sound worried about it. We see the video of Trent working out, and Shanahan expects Williams to be back at the facility soon. Now, I'm just reading tea leaves. The 49ers have another week of OTAs next week. And these are all voluntary, by the way. You don't have to be at OTAs. So the 49ers have 99% attendance now, minus Trent Williams, or 100% minus Trent Williams. He's the 1%. But he's not required to be there. That's the first thing that we need to illustrate. However, mandatory veteran minicamp is mandatory, and that's in less than 2 weeks, Tuesday and Wednesday. It's in early June, the week after this final week of OTAs, which is coming up. So I read this as the 49ers expect Trent Williams back by the mandatory veteran minicamp. And the rest of it, well, we'll see. But if there's anybody, again, like who does not need to be there, it probably is Trent Williams. But I do think that the 49ers would definitely prefer if he were at the building, just for the sake of continuity and the sake of mirroring the vibe that we're seeing everywhere else. I mean, Nick Bosa was having fun out there today. Fred Warner's out there. George Kittle is out there. George Kittle hasn't always been around for the majority of OTAs. This year, that's the case. And I know that for Trent Williams, this has been customary skipping season, but the sooner the 49ers can get him into the building, and I don't know what the reason is that he's not there right now, but the sooner they can get him in, the better off they'll be. Now, you do get some extra reps for Spencer Burford, but I don't know if the reps right now without any pads are particularly valuable. Burford was playing at that swing tackle or backup left tackle position, so first string tackle today, because we didn't see Andre Dillard out on the practice field either. They signed Andre Dillard as swing tackle competition. Dillard's injury unspecified. The 49ers don't have to talk about injuries right now. Shanahan does help us out, so he gave us some intel on Marquise Siegel, the rookie safety. He's not going to be back till camp. Alfred Collins is working through the calf that I think he aggravated at his pro day, but it seems to be getting better. He was moving more today than he was at rookie mini camp a couple weeks ago. So there's all that to take care of, and Shanahan was talking about it. Jair Brown, the ankle procedure, he's going to be out. We're going to talk about the safety concern because I think that is something that an extra intel session definitely needs to focus on. But we led this with Ricky Pearsall and we led this with Trent Williams. Hopefully that clears some things up. Here's the bigger brewing concern I have for the 49ers, the safety position. So I think this calls for the roster because I mentioned Jair Brown had the ankle procedure. And that means that Jair is currently not available. And he's not going to be available until training camp. So let's update this. This is safety. Jair is going to join Malik Mustafa. Oops, didn't mean to do that. He's going to join Malik Mustafa, shaded here with the injury coloring. So the 49ers today went straight to both second stringers. These are free agents that they signed this offseason in Richie Grant and Jason Pinnock. Now, Marquise Siegel, rookie, so he's shaded in green. He's also going to get the injury shading because we found out that Siegel is not going to be available until training camp. So the two healthy safeties today for the 49ers at the top of the pecking order were Jason Pinnock, who used to play for Robert Saleh with the Jets. That's how he entered the league. And Richie Grant, who came from the Atlanta Falcons, a couple veterans for San Francisco. They've also got Jalen Mahoney on the roster, but George Odom was not participating today. They didn't specify what it was, but I'm not going to give him an injury shading until I know for sure that this is an injury situation for George Odom. And George Odom is a special teams ace for the 49ers more than somebody that they want playing safety. So Mike was talking about it today. We were texting. He's like, one area that I see a possible midseason trade for the 49ers if things don't go the way they want it to is safety. Julian Blackmon is available now, and the reason I bring up his name is because he visited the 49ers building last year. They didn't end up adding a safety, but it's somebody that they have liked in the past, and he played under Gus Bradley, who's now a 49ers defensive assistant. Remember Gus Bradley in Indianapolis, so there is that connection for the 49ers with Julian Blackmon. I think that Robert Saleh might be able to get more out of somebody like Jason Pinnock and maybe even Richie Grant than previous teams were able to glean. Though both of those guys started at points of their careers. Pinnock especially has really good measurables, and Saleh seems to be a big believer in him. So if he's going to perform, it's going to happen now with Robert Saleh. But we did see a bit of a regression with Jair Brown last year, and Malik Mustafa did tear his ACL in the final game of the season. So safety, I just think the 49ers are on thinner ice there, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they proceed at that particular position. This was cool today, and this was something that I wrote about in the San Francisco Standard, and I wrote it about at the end. I'm watching, and Chris Kasarik is yelling. I mean, that's par for the course when you check out a 49ers practice. Kasarik is always super high energy. We can even play some of the clips from practice a little bit later. But, in watching practice, I noticed that Michael Williams was busting his ass on backside runs. I mean, he was just there was no standing around from this guy. And he looked like an undrafted free agent, just like hustling to make the team. You know who hustles in a way that makes it look like he's just trying to make the team, even though he's a future Hall of Famer, is the guy right up on the screen, Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey, and Bobby Turner likes all of his running backs to do this, but McCaffrey would do it even if Bobby Turner didn't demand it. Even after a play is blown dead, he starts sprinting toward the end zone every single play, just so he can get his workout in over practice. That's one of the reasons why, part of the reason why the 49ers say that they need to protect McCaffrey from himself. But McCaffrey's always sprinting over to the end zone. And today, one of the times he's sprinting downfield, Mykel Williams just starts sprinting after him. Like Mykel Williams wanted the extra work too. I wrote about this because Chris Kasarik was lauding Mykel Williams, like, way to finish the play, way to finish the play. But what really stood out to me is that after practice, Fred Warner said that Mykel Williams has been having conversations with him in the locker room saying, hey, I just want to hustle, man. I just want to chase down the ball. Like, I want to be a high motor player. And Fred Warner, up until that point, said he had never heard a first-round pick talking about how much he just wants to hustle. And then Fred Warner said, that's how I know that we're made of the right stuff, that we've got guys who think the right way because they're wired to hustle, that they're playing with that undrafted free agent chip on their shoulder, even though Mykel Williams, I mean, I'm going to do my little wingspan here thing. Mykel Williams has got an awesome wingspan, just short of 7 feet long, right? Alfred Collins has got the 7-foot wingspan. He's a Georgia product, 5-star kind of guy, first-round draft pick, but he's still talking about hustling. And I think that that's something that's very, very notable about the 49ers 2025 draft class, at least the very top of it. Speaking of Fred Warner, he talked about Kyle Shanahan's brutal honesty. This also from the 49ers, but this is a really good story. Check this out.
Man, there's too many times to count. But one that sticks out in my mind clear as day was back in 2021. I mean, as you guys know, that wasn't a great year for me. That was coming off of my first All-Pro year in 2020. And we were on the road, I think, playing against Chicago in a gotta-have-it game. I think we had dropped three games in a row, and we needed that game in Chicago. And luckily we pulled it off, but I don't think it was one of my better games. And I think after that game, we had like a walkthrough practice that following Wednesday when we usually don't have a walkthrough practice. And then he came up to me, he's like, you realize why we have that walkthrough practice, right? He's like, that's because of you. Like, you look tired on film. And I'm like, God damn, like, all right, well, I gotta get my stuff going. Like, that's the worst feeling in the world when you said when the head coach telling you look tired on film. So, you know, these are little things that you learn early on that you make sure that never happens again. Yeah.
So that was the Justin Fields game against the Bears back in 2021 that Fred Warner was referring to. 49ers were on the schneid. They were losing multiple straight games, as he mentioned, and they needed to win. Jimmy Garoppolo went back to his hometown in Chicago, put together a big second half, and they did win. But Justin Fields was running everywhere in that game. And there was that one crazy touchdown run. I think it was a third down, too, where Fields was running away from the 49ers defense. It wasn't a great defensive performance. Thankfully, Deebo Samuel happened in that game. Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo happened in that game. I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns, and the 49ers won. And then they made it all the way to the NFC Championship game that year. But, boy, I mean, that's a new one. That's a new story on Kyle Shanahan. The following Wednesday, the 49ers, and I think they lost the next week too, now that I'm thinking of it. They lost to the Arizona Cardinals the next week. But the following Wednesday, they go walk through speed. They don't normally go walk through speed at that time of the season. And Kyle Shanahan goes up to Warner and says, hey, you know why we went walk through speed? Because you look tired and slow on tape. Hey, that's some brutal honesty. And it made Fred Warner, I mean, back up and recalibrate his career. I mean, if he's talking about that now, after his second contract extension, 2025, if he's talking about something in 2021 now, you know it had a big, big impact on Fred Warner's career. So Kyle's been candid over the course of his time as the 49ers coach. We know that during the interview process, he told Jed York that the 49ers roster was the worst roster he'd ever seen, and that helped him get the job because Jed didn't want somebody BSing him. He wanted somebody that would tell it like it is, and Kyle Shanahan apparently did that for Fred Warner as well. So I just thought that was really, really good insight into how Shanahan operates as a head coach. Now, along that line, Robert Saleh's back now for the 49ers, and he had been a head coach for the Jets over his time away. So Tim Kawakami, my colleague at the San Francisco Standard, had a really interesting line of questioning. He wanted to know if dynamics were different now that Robert Saleh has some head coaching experience under his belt. Here is how Kyle Shanahan addressed that question.
For the first time?
No, not at all. Maybe he's more understanding. No.
Get on you as much?
I don't have to get on him as much now because he knows. It's funny when you hear stories of, oh, now I get why you were so frustrated with me in this instance because I thought you were being kind of a jerk about it. He goes, but I was twice as mean to my guy the last 2 years on it. So you start to learn those things as you go through them, and it kind of makes it a little more fun.
So Kyle Shanahan saying that Robert Saleh's experience as a head coach has made him more understanding of the difficulties that head coaches face. So he's working better with Kyle Shanahan now. Now, we're going to get to talk to Saleh next week at the next OTA session, which I'm really looking forward to. His first interview was electric. I really thought that Saleh brought it. I mean, talking about schematics, and Fred Warner was discussing that today. The 49ers are definitely evolving schematically, and Saleh talked about that when he was reintroduced as the 49ers defensive coordinator. He's taken concepts from New York that he tinkered with the Jets, and he's going to be applying them with the 49ers. The defense is not the same defense as the one that he ran from 2017 to 2020 with the 49ers. That's going to be one of the cooler things to track this year, because first they're trying to revive the defense, bring it back from the dead, especially the run defense was so bad last year. So they've restocked the cupboard. They're going to have to develop some young players. But from the big picture standpoint, is not just about new talent, younger talent, hungrier talent. It's about scheme too. They were overmatched at times with, I think, both Steve Wilks and Nick Sorensen. And Robert Saleh is not going to be outmatched schematically. We know that he's going to be really, really good with the chess match that he's been playing for a long time, ever since he's been calling defensive plays in 2017. And he's going to have a chance to take this 49ers defense into 2025 and potentially beyond when they really, really need it. So the Shanahan-Saleh dynamic is going to be fascinating this season. Why don't we take a look at, I'm allowed to film 90 seconds at 49ers practice. So we can take a look at the 90 seconds today from 49ers practice, starting with Christian McCaffrey. He looked very, very good for the 49ers. This is just him stretching, and get to see him running a little bit later. There's Brock Purdy along with Mac Jones. I know a lot of you were waiting for that side by side. Well, there they are. Offensive line. See Ben Barch working right here. Ben Barch started at the left guard position for the 49ers today. Look at Renardo Green, number 0 there in the background. He looks like a veteran now. Just carries himself like a vet. 83 is Tariq Owens. 20 is Upton Stout. Here's your superstar moment. Fred Warner and Nick Bosa having a good time at practice. Well, I mean, Warner was very, very vocal today. And there is Michael Williams. I promised I'd show you the clip a little bit earlier. Michael followed by CJ West. And CJ, if this doesn't excite you, this frame right here, I mean, that's exactly what the 49ers have needed on the inside. Just a stout frame, not to use Upton Stout's name. They're all the specialists. That's your album cover. John Weeks spinning the ball on his finger. Purdy to Braden Willis. Jordan James, the running back. And now you're going to get a look at Christian McCaffrey running the football. I will say this, that everybody reputable has reported that Christian McCaffrey looked really good. He had his burst. He caught a lot of passes. This is just warm-ups. I'm only allowed to post 90 seconds from practice, but that was just warm-ups. But I saw Christian McCaffrey over the full practice, even on that 11-on-11 session, and he was Christian McCaffrey, which is great news for the 49ers, right? He's the heartbeat of this football team. On the offensive side of the ball, he has such a dynamic effect on everything, spacing, toughness that he runs with, leadership, his receiving ability. So the fact that he's back, that he's healthy, obviously needs to stay that way for the 49ers. But there's a big reason why throughout this entire offseason I was talking about the buzz from the 49ers surrounded Christian McCaffrey's health. They think that he can transform this football team just by being out there. And I mean, we saw a little bit of it last year, but the defense was so bad that they weren't going to get anywhere with that type of unit. So now that the defense has Robert Saleh in charge, they've renovated that defense. I think you could talk more seriously, especially now that McCaffrey has had some time to distance himself from the Achilles injury and the subsequent knee injury. You could talk more seriously about the potential CMC impact in the positive direction for the 49ers. All right, any questions before I catch my flight tonight? I swam out. So today I swim Alcatraz. I cover 49ers practice, and now I have to fly cross country. That's probably why I should drink some water right now. Pharrell says he sees Jordan Elliott taking the DT spot over CJ West for week 1. I mean, you always favor veterans early on. The NFL's a different beast. You got to learn the tricks of the trade if you're a rookie. But the body type for CJ West, that is a one technique body type that I think the 49ers can really, really benefit from. Mike asks, anyone who caught my eye who I don't normally talk about? Well, Jordan Watkins, I mentioned him. Let me go back through my notes. It's actually a really good question. Renardo Green had a couple nice pass breakups today. But I already talked about him. I think I covered it pretty thoroughly. Obviously, you've got the defensive linemen. You're not going to be able to evaluate too much line play, especially without the pads. We talked about McCaffrey. I think Watkins was the most surprising standout today, and he had the natural opportunity with Ricky Pearsall not being available. Is George Kittle looking good? Yeah, George Kittle looks totally fine. George Kittle, fresh off the contract extension, looked good today for the 49ers. My thought on the Jair Brown injury, well, I know he had a down year last year, and I know he needs to get back on the field because 49ers signed a couple vet safeties who are going to be taking snaps instead of Jair Brown up until training camp as he's out following this ankle procedure. Jason Pinnock and Richie Grant. But safety is a position of concern that I earmarked a little bit earlier in this show. Matthew asking, was Ayuk in attendance? I'm sure he's at the facility, but Brandon Ayuk is still rehabbing right now. We don't expect him back at the start of the season. Now, maybe he surprises us, but we definitely knew that he wasn't going to be at practice today coming off of the ACL. Best wings in San Francisco? This is not a question that I'm suited to answer. I'm not a wings expert. Does anybody have a good answer here for this guy? He wants to know the best wings in San Francisco. Cowing looks a little bit stronger. He made a couple nice catches today. That's a good one. Jacob Cowing. George Kittle was talking him up last week saying that, Jacob Cowing entered the league at like 168 pounds. It's a really, really light of frame. So he looks a bit stronger. He's muscled up a little bit. And I do think that is necessary for him moving forward because somebody like Jordan Watkins, it's a pretty full frame. Like that impressed me today as I was watching 49ers practice number 1. All right. So in the description, you've got the article. It's up on the San Francisco Standard. So go and check it out. This is, we'll give you all the intel on practice. This is the most in-depth look that you'll have at 49ers practice. It is time that you do sign up for the San Francisco Standard. Or Mike Urtaza, that's Mike. That's our Mike. He says or asks, who took reps at left tackle today? Spencer Burford and then Austin Pleasance. Those are the two left tackles with Trent Williams currently not in the building. So anyway, go click on that. Go check it out. Sign up. You can support the channel immensely by doing that. You can also support the channel by hitting that like button. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will talk to you soon. Mike is asking me, no, Dillard. I said earlier in the show, Andre Dillard did not participate today. Probably an injury concern, but we didn't get the specifics from Kyle Shanahan. Anyway, check it out. Article is in the description. I'm going to post it and pin it to the comment section right now. We'll see you guys later.